Since time immemorial, there have been narratives of strong versus weak, just versus unjust, fair versus unfair, and heroes versus. This is getting too dramatic. And so this story also follows this ancient narrative pattern that in this case it's not a legend but a true story. Once there was a mighty kingdom that was considered invincible in the automotive world for decades. They had one knight who stood out against all the others. But one day, in the early 90s, an enemy stood at the gates, against whom even the mighty knights were not matched. The name of the enemy? Were poor sales figures as a result of an economic crisis. In any case, when the battle was thought to be almost lost, a new unexpected hero appeared and saved the kingdom from the ruin at the last minute. Bullshit. It all sounds like a bad movie. Let's try the storytelling like this.
What's the similarity between the Porsche Boxster S and the E46 M3? Both cars coming from the same automotive era. Both cars have a 3.2 liter engine, and in this case both cars are open and have a manual gearbox. But that's where it stops. The M3 E46 was immediately after his release in the Hall of Fame, where the Porsche Boxster didn't make it, even not today. And that even this car was saved Porsche from the dead, because 1993 Porsche was nearly to get bankrupt. And this car gets Porsche out of the bad misery and help him again to get new clients and get the old clients back. So I maintained this car will get in the next few months and years through the roof with the price and with this image, and why it is like it is, I will show it to you today. So my love affair with the Porsche Boxster starts exactly with this car. Exactly with this one that we drive in. It was some years ago. I get this car from a client to making a small inspection and oil change on it. And like after every oil change and inspection, I go to test drive the car to get sure that everything is working well. So regularly this is by me 10-15 minutes, and then I come back and it's done, the job is done. But I remind it like it was yesterday. After the first two corners with this car, I fell in love with this car that I want to still keep driving to the next corner and to the next corner and to the next corner, because it was so much fun. It was so much fun to me because I didn't expect it. I know, at this time I know what the Porsche Boxster is, but I never was driven it. I drove many 911 until this time, many also special 911s, and it was cool, it was nice, but never a Porsche Boxster. So I didn't expect nothing from this car, and that's what's the reason why I was such surprised what a driver-focused car this is. Anyway, at the end it was not 10 minutes driving, it was over 1 hour test driving, because I fell in love how this car drives, how this car feels through the corners. It was such a great feeling. And after 1 hour, I was sad to go back and give it to the client, because I really fell in love immediately with this car. From the first two corners, I fell in love with this car. And Also today, I still driving it. I have a smile in my face. I love to drive it. Doesn't matter how many faster and better cars I was driven until now. This car has always a special place in my heart because this is so puristic, driver-oriented cars. It's really a weekend warrior cars that doesn't look like a monster, doesn't look like a really driver-focused car. It looks like a simple Porsche, but I think that's the fun, because many people don't think when they take a look at him how great this car is. You know, it's an understatement, Porsche, that has such a great performance. And believe me, you can take a 911, 996, 911, 997 from this era, a normal one, not the GT model. You cannot compare it. This car drives so much better than a 911 from this era, so much faster through the corners. Doesn't matter that he has less power than those other 911 models. It makes more fun. And I'm sure if you give it to a 911 guy that was never driven this car, I'm sure he will seriously have trouble to go back after this driving to his 911, because this is such another performance. This is such a different performance to the 911. If you drive it fast to the corners, it's another level, you know. So the Boxster S have the 3.2 engine, flat six, and it's not a car with much horsepower, 260 horsepower, but it feels so much more. It feels like 320 horsepower, and I think that's why this car also light is 1,300 kilograms plus minus, something like this, and that's also the reason why this car feels so nimble and so fast. It's an old school atmospheric engine, no turbocharger, no supercharger. It's just the engine with this high revving, and you will love to drive it. So I love to drive it because you have time to enjoy the sound. You have time to enjoy how the performance is getting higher and higher, and the car is getting faster and faster. You have time to suck it in you, all that feelings, all that emotions. And that's such a great feeling. And it belongs great to this 6-gear manual speed box, because this gearbox is so precisely. Doesn't matter this car is already old and have much kilometers. It feels like the first day when you was buy this car. It feels precisely, feels quality, and feels on point. What I would like a little bit, that this gearbox will be a little bit shorter and give more aggressivity to the car. But I'm complaining right now on a high level. So this is, if I could choose, if I could engineer this car new, that will be the only point in my eyes what I was changed. A little bit a shorter gearbox with a shorter gear ratios to have a little bit more aggressivity out of the corners. That's it. The rest, I love it. The rest is great.
It's so great how this car drives. You feel this middle motor, this middle engine concept. This middle engine concept is so special to drive. Like for example the Lotus Eddies or other cars like the Toyota MR2, Porsche Boxster, or maybe more exotic cars. As soon you have a middle engine concept, this is the next level of driving. Next level of driving experience and of the behavior, how the car behaves through the corners. So easy, so precisely. If you've never driven a car like, if you never have driven one car like this before, that's the next thing you need to do.
From the chassis is bombastic. The chassis is great. 49 to 51, as I say, is the balance, and it feels so great, this chassis. Through the corners, on the straight, you can really enjoy it in every speed. You can enjoy it when you drive slowly, when you're cruising. You can enjoy it when you drive sporty. Such a great chassis. And listen to this sound. Wow, it reminds me of the new GT4. The new GT4 is much, much louder, but it's the same sound type, you know? You hear it immediately if you drive the GT4. This is the same type of sound, just much smoother and not so noisy. Of course, not so noisy, but like by the GT4. But it comes from the same family of sound, and that's what also makes such a fun to drive this car. I love that thing. No, honestly, I was driven many sports car, many Porsches, 996, 997. I'm not talking about the GT models, but this car makes so much fun. This car makes so much more sense as a driver's car, as a weekend warrior car, than the 911. Wow! I know the 911 boys doesn't like what I say, but it is. I cannot change it. It is how it is. This car is such a great driver's car and such a great performance car and such a even more great fun car. Oh my God, that's good. I don't want to stop to drive it, really. I don't want to stop to drive it. And what is also great, it's a great daily car. Really, you can use it daily. It's no problem. The fuel consumption is all right. The comfort is all right. Everything is working well, and it is reliable. Yeah, it's such a great car. After all these positive points, there is one point that is negative. So this steering wheel is very, very precisely. You really got a well feedback about the tarmac, and it's very direct. No play, so no game. It's really a perfect one. It's the perfect steering wheel feeling for this car. The negative point is by the gearbox. The flywheel, it feels too heavy. If you change the gear one gear down and you clutch between that to keep the RPM high and you release the clutch, you always feel how the flywheel is still rotating. It pushes you, so the gear changing is not nice because it's still rotating at the high RPM. You release the clutch and the car makes like this, so it pushes you one and through. So, and you will also see when you RPM it up and down. So when you RPM it up, it took a long time until the RPM is coming down. So this is an indicator that the flywheel is heavy. I don't know why they put such a heavy flywheel in this car. Maybe to get more nice smoothness working of the engine, the feeling of the engine. It could be that this is the point. But if you want to drive sporty, if you want to gas up between the gear changes, the flywheel doesn't feel well because it's still too long rotating on a high RPM. That's the only thing that I don't like, including those too long gear ratios. If you would change those two things, a shorter gear ratio, including a lighter flywheel, this car will be such on a next level. It is right now also on a very, very high performance level, but that will be then even one more, and would be even more, give this car a more aggressive feeling when you drive it sporty, by sporty driving. But okay, as I already say, I'm complaining on a high level, so how it is good. It could be just even a little bit better with those two things, those two settings on the gearbox. So let's talk shortly about the space. So if you take a look at the interior of the car, there's not really much space. So it's just space for you and your passenger, a wallet, your mobile phone, and that's it. So it's a really tiny interior, but you're sitting very comfortable inside. So when you want to travel with this car, no problem. You have two trunks. You have one in the front and one in the back, and they are not small. You have really enough space to put your luggage inside and really to make a long trip to go to holidays for 2 weeks, no problem. And if this pace is not enough for you, you definitely do something wrong. And also this interior. I mean, if you take a look at this, you see immediately it's an interior that was produced end of the 90s, beginning of the millennium, and that's how it looks like. But it's still quality. You have so many soft touch materials and some plastic. It's not at this high level like a 911. That's sad, but it's also on a high level. If you open the door, you feel this is not plastic, this is metal, and it feels, wow, it feels really quality. Also after all these years, and the gearbox, how it feels, also very, very quality. And that gives you this Porsche feeling. Doesn't matter, it's an old car, you still feel you drive something special. You drive something premium, you know? And that's what I really still love about this. I mean, it's an old cockpit, but this one have his charm, to be honest. It has his charm, and I really love it, how it looks, how it feels when you get inside in the car. Such a great feeling. The seats, yeah, so the seats, sitting well. But if you are a little bit bigger, wider than me, you will have your problems, because this is such a small sport seat. I mean, it's good if you go through the corners. It keeps you on place by the side. But if you are a bigger guy than I am, a wider guy than I am, yeah, then this will be a problem for you. That's the only negative thing about this. And the rest, and also the steering wheel. I would like, for my taste, that this steering wheel is a little bit more thicker. But I mean, it's normal at this time, where this car is coming from, that this steering wheels was thinner. So by the newer cars it's thicker. But I mean, if you want to change it, you can change it. It's not a big deal. I think around 400 or 500 francs, and you have a thicker steering wheel. You can you can custom it to your taste, and then everything is working well. Yeah, materials great. We have a great sound system here also. Bose with the subwoofer behind me has a great sound. Only thing you need is an up-to-date radio, because this one is an old one. But it also have his charm. I mean, it's a Porsche one. It's branded with Porsche. Looks well. It belongs to this interior. It's okay. Absolutely okay for me. And you can really, what they really done well is the aerodynamic of the car. You can really drive fast, let the roof open, let the windows down. It doesn't feel uncomfortable because the wind is, for example, hitting you all the time, because the wind is going well over your head. You can also drive on the highway, put the windows up, and everything is fine. You got here behind you a wind stopper, and I think this one also makes a great job, because really I can drive over 100 kilometers per hour, let the windows down. It feels comfortable in the inside of the car. And if you drive faster, you put the windows up, and it's okay. You can really still enjoy it long time with open roof, and this is not by many cars normal. So we've driven some Spiders, some convertibles. As soon you start to drive faster than 80 kilometers per hour, you have headache, because the wind is hitting all the time your head, hitting in your ears, and after 10 minutes it's no more comfortable, it's no more nice to drive. But this one, such a great machine. Wow, wow, wow. What a car. This car deserves big applause and big respect from the car community, and not cliche names like beginner's Porsche or even a women's Porsche.
Hi. I'm here to pick up my car.
Hey, you're too early.
No, you said 4 o'clock.
No, I said 6 o'clock.
And now? It's not possible to take it with me?
No, I'm finished. You can have
Oh,
it.
nice.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
bye.
Bye. Tschüss. Wow, what a car.
And so ends our heroic story, which teaches one thing, namely that the Porsche Boxster driver is a very self-confident automobile connoisseur who does not care about the thinking and opinion of others, but who prefer the sophisticated driving experience of a Boxster to the prestige and image of a 911.